Good morning, all. Welcome back to my class. Today we are going to learn a new lesson, Quality. This story is written by John Glassworthy. He was an English novelist and a playwright. He was one of the most popular writers of the early 20th century. This story is about the German shoemakers, the Gessler brothers. They are German, so their English is different. We will understand it when we start reading the text. It's a quite interesting story. Okay, then turn your textbook to page number 71. Look at the textbook. Unit 5 Quality. I knew him from the days of my extreme youth because he made my father's boots. He lived with his elder brother in his shop, which was in a small by street in a fashionable part of London. The shop had a certain quiet distinction. There was no sign upon it other than the name of Gessler Brothers, and in the window a few pairs of boots. He made only what was ordered, and what he made never failed to fit. To make boots, such boots as he made, seemed to me then, and still seems to me, mysterious and wonderful. I remember well my shy remarks one day while stretching out to him my youthful foot. Isn't it awfully hard to do, Mr. Gessler? And his answer, given with a sudden smile from out of the redness of his beard. It is an art. It was not possible to go to him very often. His boots lasted terribly, having something beyond the temporary, some essence of boot stitched into them. One went in, not as into most shops, but restfully as one enters a church, and sitting on the single wooden chair, waited. A guttural sound and the tip-tap of his slippers beating the narrow wooden stairs, and he would stand before one without coat, a little bent, in leather apron with sleeves turned back, blinking as if awakened from some dream of boots. And I would say, "How do you do, Mr. Gessler? Could you make me a pair of Russian leather boots?" Without a word, he would leave me retiring whence he came, or into the other portion of the shop, and I would continue to rest in the wooden chair, inhaling the incense of his trade. Soon he would come back, holding in his hand a piece of gold brown leather. With eyes fixed on it, he would remark, "What a beautiful piece!" When I too had admired it, he would speak again. "When do you want them?" And I would answer, "Oh, as soon as you conveniently can." And he would say, "Tomorrow fortnight." Or if he were his elder brother, "I will ask my brother." Then I would murmur, "Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Gessler." "Good morning," he would reply, still looking at the leather in his hand, and as I moved to the door, I would hear the tip-tap of his slippers going up the stairs to his dream of boots. I am going to explain, so listen carefully. The author had known the shoemaker for many years because he used to make boots for his father. Mr. Gessler was the shoemaker who lived with his elder brother in their shop in London. The shop didn't have any signs apart from the name of the Gessler brothers. He used to make boots only on orders, and they never failed to fit. Once the author questioned Mr. Gessler if it wasn't awful to make those shoes perfectly fitting into the feet. The man answered with a heavy German accent that it is an art. His boots lasted long, so the narrator did not need to go to his shop very often. The customer went into the shop just as one enters a church and sat on a wooden chair and waited. Mr. Gessler came through the wooden stairs and would stand before the customer without coat. He wore a leather apron. He turned up his sleeves. The narrator wanted a pair of Russian leather boots. Mr. Gessler didn't say a word and came back after some time holding a fine golden leather piece. After the narrator's approval, he said, when he wanted it, and asked him he wanted it on tomorrow or fortnight. And if he were his elder brother, he said he would ask to his brother. The narrator said thank you and good morning to him. He also greeted back. While he moved to the door, he heard the tip-tap sound of his slippers going up the stairs. I am going to read the textbook, so look at the textbook. I cannot forget that day on which I had occasion to say to him, Mr. Gessler, that last pair of boots creaked, you know. He looked at me for a time without replying, as if expecting me to withdraw or qualify the statement, then said, It shouldn't have creaked. It did, I'm afraid. You got them wet before they found themselves. I don't think so. At that he lowered his eyes, as if hunting for memory of those boots, and I felt sorry I had mentioned this grave thing. Send them back, he said. I will look at them. Some boots, he continued slowly, are bad from birth. If I can do nothing with them, I take them off your bill. Once, once only, I went absent-mindedly into his shop in a pair of boots bought in an emergency at some large firm. He took my order without showing me any leather, and I could feel his eyes penetrating the inferior covering of my foot. At last he said, Those are not my boots. The tone was not one of anger, nor of sorrow, not even of contempt, but there was in it something quiet that froze the blood. He put his hand down and pressed a finger on the place where the left boot was not quite comfortable. It hurts you there, he said. Those big worms have no self-respect. And then, as if something had given away within him, he spoke long and bitterly. It was the only time I ever heard him discuss the conditions and hardships of his trade. They get it all, he said. They get it by advertisement, not by work. They take it away from us, who love our boots. It comes to dispresently. I have no work. Every year it gets less, you will see. And looking at his lined face, I saw things I had never noticed before. Bitter things and bitter struggle, and what a lot of grey hairs there seemed suddenly in his red beard. As best I could, I explained the circumstances of those ill-omened boots, but his face and voice made so deep an impression that during the next few minutes I ordered many pairs. They lasted longer than ever, and I was not able to go to him for nearly 2 years. It was many months before my next visit to his shop. This time it appeared to be his elder brother handling a piece of leather. Well, Mr. Gessler, I said, how are you? He came close and peered at me. I am pretty well, he said slowly, but my elder brother is dead. And I saw that it was indeed himself, but how aged and worn. Worn means weak. And never before had I heard him mention his brother. Much shocked, I murmured, Oh, I am sorry. Yes, he answered, he was a good man. He made a good boot. But he is dead. And he touched the top of his head where the hair had suddenly gone as thin as it had been on that of his poor brother, to indicate, I suppose, the cause of his death. Do you want any boots? And he held up the leather in his hand. It's a beautiful piece. I ordered several pairs. It was very long before they came, but they were better than ever. One simply could not wear them out. And soon after that I went abroad. I am going to explain, so listen carefully. One day the narrator went to their boot shop and told him that his last pair of shoes creaked. After a long pause, Mr. Gessler asked him to bring the shoes. He assured that if he couldn't repair them, he would give the money back. On one occasion, while placing an order for a shoe, the author was a bit absent-minded. He was wearing a pair of shoes bought at a large firm. Gessler told that those were not his boots. He put a finger on the place where the left boot was not comfortable. He spoke bitterly that big firms made poor quality. They don't have any self-respect. He also spoke about the hard times of his trade. Big firms lure customers with their advertisement, not with their work. Because of this, Mr. Gessler's business was going down. The narrator explained the circumstances that he bought his boots. He heard such things for the first time from Mr. Gessler. He felt bad and ordered many pairs of boots instantly. They lasted a long. After 2 years, he went to their shop again. But this time he mistook Mr. Gessler as his elder brother. After a while, he realized his mistake and learned that the elder brother had passed away. Mr. Gessler answered that his elder brother was a good man and he had made good boots. The narrator ordered many pairs of shoes. They were better than ever, and soon after that he left for abroad. That's all for the day. Thank you.